One of the things I preach on is how to break through in life and how to take command of your mind, body, and soul. In today's podcast, I sat down with Tim Kennedy. He is a Special Forces operator. He's been a US Green Beret for many years, Master Sergeant. He has fought for UFC titles, built companies, has done incredibly well for himself in many regards across life. What we discussed today was not just what are the mindsets that help you break through, but also what are the things that really guide an individual? What are the values? What are the things that get an individual into that space so that they can be their greatest self? It was such an incredible conversation to sit down with Tim and really get to know him, not just on the mystique side, the myth, the man, the legend, but also understand who he is. What is he operating with? What values, what virtues, what drives him? And even when he comes home from a deployment, what does he do in order to take all of that stress that he experienced by being in firefights and allow himself just to release that? I was able to really dive deep into his habits, his programming, and just what he does as a human in order to break through. So if you are looking for the knowing and understanding of how to break through in life, everything that stops you, whatever is stopping you from being the best version of yourself, this is absolutely the episode for you. I know you'll get a ton out of it. If you guys are interested in hearing more episodes like this, then please go on to iTunes, into the platforms, give us a 5-star review so that more individuals can find these types of podcasts and this type of conversation. To be honest, I think this is such an important conversation to be having for not just men, but also women, but just to understand what is the thing that really helps all of us break through as humans. So again, go on to iTunes, give us a 5-star review, and of course, enjoy today's episode. Before we dive into today's episode, I am incredibly excited to announce that coming November 1st of this year, we are going to launch an incredible program for men who are looking to break through in every area of their life. If you know you want more depth and more success, more fulfillment and achievement in your health, in your relationship, in your business, in your money, in every area of life, we are coming out with the absolute program for you. It provides everything you need. All the steps, all the support to gain the clarity to command your life like a king. I speak to that over and over and over again, but in reality, are you truly showing up every single day? Are you doing the work? Are you doing the daily activities that help you actually achieve that every single day? And if you are not, you need the support. You need the net. You need the individuals around you that are going to guide you and support you to be that. And the other thing, and this is what I see so many men doing, is that they're playing small. They know that they want more, but they don't feel like they're worthy. They don't feel like they're deserving of those big dreams. So I encourage you, if you have big dreams, if you are a go-getter, if you're an entrepreneur, a salesman, a leader in any capacity, this is absolutely the program for you. So be sure to watch the podcast, keep coming back, because when this thing launches, it's going to be big. All right, guys. I know you're going to enjoy today's episode. Like I said earlier, I sat down with Tim Kennedy. It's an incredible program. Got to know a lot more than just what's out there with relation to what Tim Kennedy is putting out. We really dove deep into a lot of the mental emotional side of things, because that's what we talk about at the Unbreakable Man. We know that it's not just about being a physical warrior, but also about what's going on the inside, what's going on in your heart, in your mind, in your body, so that you can show up, be the man you want to be, command your life like a king, inside and out, and ultimately be an unbreakable man. All right, guys, enjoy today's episode. I'll see you in there. Tim, welcome to the show, brother.
My man, what up?
So I want to just start by saying I ran into you at a coffee shop.
I love coffee.
Yeah, I'm also a huge fan of coffee. I want to just start by saying like how incredible of a human you are, just to even like recognize that I was like, hey man, like I know you, but you have no idea who I am from Sam. And you're like, you came up, super nice dude. Where does that come from? Like if you think about like that value, that openness that you showed up with that day.
There are actually a few things that were going on at that moment. One, you're wearing a remembrance wristband.
Yeah.
At the time.
Yeah.
Got a beard.
Yeah.
You clearly have hair trauma.
So hair trauma. That's correct.
I might not have to do be like a super spy to figure out like, hey, we probably come from similar worlds. So
Similar
like,
background,
might as well. No, but I think we're just living in such a wild, entitled, selfish time where, especially like successful people have moved themselves into a class that isn't real. It's in their mind they're real. It's real, right? Like there's peasants and there's everybody else that's not famous. They don't have verified pages or like, and it's so insincere and it's so disingenuous and it's so un-American, quite frankly. And like, if there's anything I'm a father, I'm a patriot and I'm a fucking American. So like those things are very much ingrained in my DNA and everything else can just go fuck itself.
So what does that mean? What does it mean to be an American in today's day and age?
I think it's the same thing that it's always meant. And I hate that the question has that end to it, which is like in this day and age. No, man, like you start gassing Jews, we're going to run up mountains, we're going to climb cliffs, we're going to storm beaches, and we're going to kill all of you until you stop doing it. Right? You come and like you attack Pearl Harbor, we'll drop 2 nuclear bombs on you. You fly planes into our buildings, we'll go to war against you. I'm against the neocons and the industrial military complex, yes. But also like you fuck with us for 20 years, we'll invade your country. Like there's a little rebel in us. And it started a long time ago, around 1760, where like, I don't care who shot the first shot, the Boston massacre, but ultimately they were like, we're going to kill everyone involved.
So where does that come from? If you think about like that warrior mentality, what is the ultimate mission? And I saw it in your business card and I really enjoyed it. What is like underneath the surface to all of that? Like, what would you say that is?
Man, I think it's, it is an identity. You said it's a warrior culture. And deny it all you want. That is what we are. That is where we came from. That is our beginning. That was our founding. That was the genesis of our existence. And then every single jump that we had as a nation was post-war. Both on the civil rights side, on the economic side, in the industrial side, on the technology side, on the medical side. There's not a single moment where like a huge leap wasn't made because of war. And it's ugly.
It is, because
war is terrible. But like, that's who we are. And I'm proud of that. So all the warrior societies and warrior cultures throughout history, it's trendy right now to talk about the Romans. But like Marcus Aurelius, Meditations, one of the most beautiful poems about being a man and about being a warrior and this idea of it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. Like that is this idea of the yin and the yang of the samurai and the Buddhist, like the most dangerous warrior society ever to walk the face of the planet. The Spartans being like kind of weird in the bedroom, and sculpting and writing beautiful philosophy and poetry, but also like they're Spartans,
The Maori, I think of the Maori people as well. The English sent 9 fleets and they beat them back and they continue to beat them back. And the Maori stand because of that today. And the Maori, I have a deep respect for the Maori people, from that perspective. Oh, you were gonna say?
I concur. I mean, we could go for hours on like the number of societies that have embraced this identity, and really the ones that started questioning it, like the fall of the Roman Empire. It was in this identity crisis where there's division and they're addressing social issues and they're looking at the circus and the gladiators, all the while forgetting about who they were at their core. And at the core, like, I'm going to take my gladius, my Roman sword, and I'm going to kill everyone in front of me that stands against Rome.
So here's this is the grand question, because I can already hear the comment section going like wild, which is there's always trauma in war. There's always the dark side of war, which is, you mentioned, like, you drop nuclear bombs on somebody, there's going to be some fallout. There's going to be some issues, not just in that moment.
Is that a pun?
Yes.
Good one.
I'm a dad too. I'm a dad.
Nuclear fallout.
Nuclear fallout. Yeah, it's so good. Is when you when that experience is there, and I recognize that the warrior mentality is necessary for us to protect and serve and defend human life and defend all that is good, our virtues, our values. But talking about again, the dark side of the warrior, have you seen in your own experience where that is showing up in your life and in your experiences just as a warrior in today's day and age?
That's a hard question.
It is,
They write books on this. And I'm just going to simplify it in the best way that I can as the idiot that I am. my daughter's birthday's coming up.
Okay.
And we got her this unicorn glow-in-the-dark blanket. And you put light on it, and like the unicorn and the little ice cream cone and the stars all light up in the darkness. And she was furious that you couldn't see the glow in the dark in the dimly lit room. You had to go into total darkness to be able to see it. And this contrast in my life where, you know, like I know the smell of burnt hair on a dead body. You know, I smell the smell of rotting corpses every time I go to, you know, hunting camp. And all those flashbacks, waking up, like all of that is there, but it makes the other elements of my life so much brighter. And me trying to explain to a 3-year-old that like, no, we have to go into total darkness to be able to really appreciate the light. And that goes both directions. You know, like me being a faithful husband, an intentional father, me being like a good partner with all the people that I work with. So like when we're having hard times, man, like the hard times I can be in because I know and can appreciate and value the good times. And when I'm away from my wife and I come back from deployments, a couple dozen now, when I come back, like I know the smell of her in ways that no other normal man that hasn't embraced who he is knows their wife. You know, like I can smell when she's scared. I can like feel, not like, is that bitch mad at me? But dude, I know what's going on with her physiologically. And
you can sense it. Like it's like an intuition.
And you can't appreciate those things unless you've seen dark. And I mean darkness.
I've been down that path too. You know, I remember driving into from Kuwait. We went into Iraq in a convoy. This is before up armored Humvees. We had soft sided Humvees, and we were like,
"My man,
it was that.
Yeah, that's kind of sketch, right?
The Wild West.
Let's just drive fast.
It was the Wild
Avoid
West.
that pothole."
I remember that. And it was like we had this moment where shit like hit the fan. And you know, you see some bodies, you see some a lot of shit, and you're like, wow, there's like wild, you know, kind of thinking about that because there is and this is why we do what we do now at the Unbreakable Man, and why I'm helping guys just open up the conversation in your times that you've experienced war, and you shared something with me even before we got on this podcast, which is you stand on a prayer rug of a man that you killed. You know, like that's heavy. It's incredibly heavy. Like, do you feel comfortable sharing any experience that you have had while at war that maybe comes with you?
I mean, talking about it is we just got done doing Heroes Jiu-Jitsu. And unbeknownst to you, I know for a fact that there's 4 people out there that are seriously struggling with suicide right now. And yes, we went out there and we sweated and we rolled and we had community, but also right now they're being attacked by my staff. I hate using that. I didn't mean it in a possessive way. Like our team is like descending on that person, on those people with love, grace, compassion, and intentionality, and be like, hey man, what's going on? Just like we're doing right now. So in addition to that prayer rug right behind me, that rifle, there's 2 on the wall right there. The one with the green sling. I was in Uruzgan, Afghanistan. And we were driving and we were getting our asses kicked. And it was like a 3-day tick. And ambush, you know, IED initiated with a couple hundred foreign fighters. They'd pre-positioned in addition to a couple hundred local Taliban that were being supported by it was like a mess. And real terrible. You know, like door to door, families being used as body shields around machine gun nests. Horrible. And there's this guy walking the ridge line in like dimming light of dusk. And I put that dude in the dirt and he's in our direction of travel. And it's not often as a sniper you get to go and see your work. You know, it's 1,000 meters off, usually in the opposite direction, right? Or like you're up here and they're down there, or like they're way over there and you're here. That was in our direction of travel. So we drove past this child. He was 100% Taliban, probably 12, 13 years old, doing resupply, had a little bag with a bunch of ammo in it, you know, and he was carrying you can't see it obviously out of camera, but it's like a musket, like it's a powder lever action loaded 1875 British rifle. And I have that on the wall for 2 reasons. One is to remind me the cost of war. it is usually children, the poor, that are always being manipulated by those in power to gain money or position.
Yeah.
That's there always. And also, we were getting our asses kicked.
Yeah.
And every time I think about the Second Amendment and I hear politicians or presidents being like, we have F-35s that you can't find. Like, what do you think you're going to do with your AR-15? I'm like, we just got our asses beat for 20 years by peasants with rifles, with muskets. So don't ever talk to me about the importance of a single person fighting for his land with a rifle, because like, I know what it's like to lose to one of those guys. So like this room, we're surrounded with things. That's me in Afghanistan during the withdrawal. That's the day before the bombing. August 25th, 2021. That's what that picture is. That rug that's behind me, like that came from me in Iraq in 2006 during the time that we were there to kill Zarqawi. Obviously like old school 80s and 70s recruiting posters for special forces. I can tell you a thing about everything on that wall, from that Gurkha right there. That is a World War I bayonet that was used, and 100% used bayonet. Bottom left right there. There's a reason I don't want to separate, and I don't want to deny this darkness, because that's part of me. And me pretending that it's not there, or me thinking that I'm just like this Puritan, like that was a phase of my life. Man, like, you look at my kids the wrong way, I might take your face off. Like, I love you. I'm full of grace. I'm like a born again Christian, like I believe in being kind and compassion, and like, I'll bear you. And those things can coexist. And really for me, that's how I roll.
One of the things he touched on was compassion. And I think that's, one of the virtues that I preach on. If there's 5 virtues that I really, I think it's discipline, integrity, responsibility, courage, which is the ability to see yourself, and compassion. And a lot of people, especially in men's development, don't see that as a virtue. And when you showed up, you're like, "Hey man, like, nice to see you at the coffee shop." You're like, again, you don't know me, who I am, right? And I'm like, it's good to, good to be with you, And it was like, and I could feel the eminence of compassion. And I think in order to be the depth of a warrior, as you're describing, there's darkness. There's always going to be that experience when you're in war, or even in just like everyday life, man. Like, it can be heavy sometimes. You don't know what's going to be down the line when, for instance, if the more, there's a pandemic, and all of a sudden you have an in-person business, and now you got to completely shift gears because nobody wants to show up, and you got to find a way. It's like you got to be allow for that darkness. How does compassion show up for you? And you mentioned it a couple times, but how does it really show up for you, and how do you emanate that as a warrior?
Compassion and grace are, I think, the most, for somebody being in a position of power, the most admirable characteristic that I could look for in that leader is compassion and grace. And inversely, the thing that I will quickly, like my litmus test for people in positions of power, is the prevalence of compassion and grace in their life. I mean, intentional. Like, they have on their calendar, they put in time to do things for other people. Like, that's compassion. If it's just like a feeling where it's like, I feel like tipping extra today. No, do you feel that way because there's people looking at you, or they recognized who you are? Or are you doing it to be like a good human? Like, okay, I'm going to go to my neighbor's house and help her do some plumbing at her house. Is that intentionally on my calendar? Or like, it's real when you look into people's lives, and there's a selflessness there, and that is compassion and grace. Some of the fiercest warriors in the Bible, David, Solomon, Joshua, they were very dark. They made some serious mistakes. They were also filled with compassion and grace. And it's, again, intentional compassion and intentional grace. Like, I know you have wronged me. I know I have every positional authority and right to end you, but I'm going to show you grace. And it's so woefully missing in this era that we're living in now, where we're judging people off of like a single post or a single low moment in their life, or like, even if they said something disgusting in one moment, like, that is not who that person is. Like, can we show them grace to find out who this person is? It's just like
the virtues that they live by.
I was a piece of shit for a really long time. And
what changed?
no, I'm still a piece of shit. I'm just really trying to not be.
Yeah.
And I'm like really humiliated about who I was for a long period of time. And I look back at that young man from 15 to 35.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man, that's embarrassing.
Yeah. One of the things that I harp on, which is the maturation of men, right? Like moving from boyhood psychology into manhood psychology, and moving from this sort of this princely era of sort of like, Parsifal running off in, or in Don Quixote, if you ever read that, that book, it's like chasing after windmills, sex, drugs, rock and roll, the whole nine. And I think for so many young men, they're led by that ego, and they just want to go out there and just like conquer. It's like that conquest theory. And oftentimes I see with matured individuals such as yourself, who knew that back in the day, I was like, oh, fuck, I was that guy. I was like, oh, fuck, I've had my conquests and, try to take over the world. And something happens in your life. It's like that Hamlet theory where it's like you're sitting there and you're looking at, who am I, to be or not to be? That is the question, and you are reckoning with all of the depths of all of the shit that you've dealt with. And so, with that said, when that process happens, what I call it the king archetype, comes online and gives you guidance for what you fight for. You mentioned earlier in the conversation that there's a certain mystique around the military industrial complex, right? And maybe in the past, like we were fighting, like I know I'd signed up, right? But actually before 9/11, that was when I signed up. It was 2000, and when 9/11 happened, I was like, all right, doubling down, let's go.
Here we go.
Let's go. Let's strap in. Let's do this. Afterwards, I had to really, really identify who am I and what am I fighting for. And, if you had to think to that process when you were like, let's say 18 to 35, when you notice that, number one, what shifted for you internally and what are you fighting for now?
I think the thing that shifted is the value of grace and compassion. It is, watching the greatest generation, the patriarch of our family, my grandpa, surviving the Great Depression, going and fighting World War II, having sons that then volunteered to go and fight in Vietnam, not drafted, like volunteered to go and fight during Vietnam. Those were the people that shaped me. And, my dad, who is an absolute hero, my mom, who is like one of the hardest working women, and they had so much compassion and grace. They had lived through so much. I mean, just imagine watching Martin Luther King walk. Watching him give the speech in front of Lincoln. Watching our country crumble and your brothers come back from Vietnam and you questioning if you're going to go stab your teacher because she wanted to spit on your big brother after he got back. You're like, that's what my mom went through. And, that's Shane taking off. And
I hear the helicopter in the background. It's great.
I love that guy. My grandpa coming back from World War II and then, with compassion and grace, which is not a thing that was definable then. Like that was a hard generation, right?
Really
like they
was,
were tough. And I got spanked / beaten with like wooden spoons and leather belts and go find a stick before or I'm going to find one. But it was 100% out of love and compassion. And, but like, that's how they did it then. Right. Then me, this little selfish, narcissistic, ethnocentric prick that had every opportunity and had every way to learn how to do it right, did it wrong. And in this journey, like the hero's journey of figuring out what am I supposed to do and how am I supposed to do it and who am I, this really painful realization, this epiphany and the metamorphosis of like who I was as a soul, like, man, I had this all wrong. I had the playbook the whole entire time. I just didn't look at it. Like I'm obviously retarded, like something dumb about me.
It takes special individuals.
Yeah, a long time.
When you came out though, it's like, obviously you mentioned it, fighting is like compassion. And if you think about it, like, let me ask you, are you still in the military?
Yeah.
And when you fight, what are you fighting for? Right? When you're like, cause if your fight is for, cause the argument could be, I'm sort of playing devil's advocate right now. The argument could be, well, if you're taking human life, then like, that's not preserving human life, you're taking human. So like, what is, what's underneath that? Like, what is the fight for?
great and often hard question to answer, but in my mind, it's super simple. And, you know, I can dilute it down to single instances like Columbine, or in Colorado in a movie theater that a bunch of people are watching the debut of Batman.
Yeah.
And a guy walks in with a gas mask and starts shooting people in a movie theater. Yeah. You know, like, or I really like to sit on the back right or back left corner of the movie theater. Yeah. One, because I get a vantage point. Two is because
as
like
a sniper would.
Sometimes I'm that guy that's like, okay, I know I have to reply to a couple of emails, and I've already read everything that happens in this movie, so I'm just gonna like knock it out. But I don't want to disturb anybody, so I'm like back in the corner. But like this asshole walks into the movie theater and he's like, hey, and he throws a gas grenade, and then he's dead. Yeah. That's the end of it. Yeah. You know, or like there's this douchebag in 1938. He has a bunch of brown shirts that's running around Berlin, and they're part of the National Socialist Party. And he's like, man, we really need help Germany get this up. But there's these people, these Jews, don't like them so much. And everybody that's like genetically related to them in this divisions of human existence, let's just kill these bottom ones because they're not very helpful. Or we just kill him. So like, not the greater good, and I don't believe in that idea. I'm talking about for you to stop people doing violence, it takes people skilled at violence to stop them. Give me some of those people. And when you really look at like the tip of the spear, when you look the special operations, whether it's the SEALs or the Green Berets or Ranger Regiment or MARSOC, blah, 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 blah. Like they're the sweetest dudes. They're like big teddy bears that scare you to death. And they love their families, and they love their country, and they love their motorcycles, and they love hunting season, and they love, and they love, but don't fuck with them.
A nation or a society or a tribe without warriors isn't a nation or a society or a tribe. You know, again, I go back to the Maori people, and they showed up. I mean, it's hard to, again, we could even look at American history and say like we fucked up, right? Like we genocided the indigenous people of this land, and we took over their lands, and you know, it's like they had a warrior culture and they did their best to defend against us, and you know, for lack of better words, it was harsh, you know, like, and so like all we can do in this moment is like look at, okay, well, what do we have available to us now, and step forward, you know, with compassion and with grace, right? Like from a king's vantage point and these things. I do agree with you in that. It's hard. It's like being a warrior in the truest sense, there's always going to be death, right? And that's a dark element of warriorship. And to sit with that, you know, it's heavy sometimes. And I know a lot of the guys you're mentioning, some of the guys that were rolling jiu-jitsu with us out there, they are carrying that. They're carrying that. Do you have any processes that you personally go through that give you the availability to shed that mental emotional load, right, after you come back from deployment or from a mission?
I wouldn't call them processes. They're actual habits in my life.
Perfect.
And these habits are you know, they're not rituals, they're just part of my life. You know, like I have sex a lot. I exercise every day. I eat clean all the time. I very, very rarely have alcohol, and it's usually with my wife, and it's like a glass of red wine.
At a nice dinner.
I cold plunge. I hang out with like-minded people that I want to, not that I want to emulate, but more that like I'm aspiring to be like. You know, they have characteristics that I really, really value and appreciate. You know, talk about generosity, compassion, and grace. Like that family, that guy that just took off, they're crapped on and pooped on by like everybody because of who their last name is. But if you know anything about them and you go one layer deep and you find out how generous that family is, you're like, what? They're like, yeah, I want to be like them. You know, like I want to be like Bobby. Like I want that ability to pour opportunity into other people's lives. So those are habits. You know, they're not processes. They're not rituals. It's not like this thing, you know, like I pray or meditate or whatever the word is. You know, like I spend intentional time with my family. Like not I try to come home from work and I'm on my phone or I'm playing video games. Like I come home last night, it was grab your lacrosse stick. We're going to go into the pool and play lacrosse in the pool. I'm absolutely going to murder you. Dope. You know, to my 8-year-old. You will see me in a leotard and a unicorn thing for my 3-year-old for her birthday this weekend. You will see that. And those are the habits.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things that brought me out of the darkness, right? So like in 2015, I'll just kind of give you a quick backstory. 2015, business goes south. I'm in the dark. I can't see my way out of the darkness. The thing that got me out was cold immersion. It was like the thing to just like get me out of my head into the body and just start those processes. And I remember
we're gonna have one here in like Blue Cube.
Dope.
We're getting a Blue Cube here. I have a plunge at the house.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I recommend of all of the things, because I was meditating and I was doing like breath work and yoga and stretching and just taking care of my body, eating clean. And it was still like kind of pushing me. It was the cold. You can't run. Can't run from the cold.
You cannot.
You can't. You're in it and you're.
Yeah. And not like, cryotherapy cold, which is great for recovery.
Yeah,
I'm talking like cold water.
Cold water.
The density, it sucks.
Yeah.
Your pain out of you.
100%. Yeah. It's life-changing. Yeah. It is absolutely life-changing.
I love it.
Yeah, for sure.
My man, I love no, I don't I have a bunch of people that I try to get in the, cause I don't keep mine super cold. It's 39 to 42, right?
Yeah, so we're at 38. Yeah.
And I do 5 minute, I get in, I not like I have a protocol, but like I go all the way under on a breath hold. I sit there until my eyes hurt because your eyes start getting painful with the cold water. Then I come up and I sit there. Then my time starts.
Okay.
And I sit there for 5 minutes.
Okay.
And then I do it again. I go all the way under.
Okay.
On a breath hold.
Yeah.
And I stay along until my eyes hurt, and then I come out.
Do you go hands above or hands in?
I do both. I do my hands in.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just started the hands in.
That's hard.
It's so hard.
That's the hardest thing.
I didn't recognize how hard it would be.
Yeah.
And then it just like.
Can I add a couple more?
Please.
Hello dolly your legs the whole time. So you're circulating cold water around your balls, and then you sit there and you do little flights with your armpits. Because when you hold really still,
the thermal layer.
Yep. There's a half inch of warmth around your skin, and it gets comfortable.
Yeah.
Even in like the Blue Cube, which has like a ton of water circulation, or the plunge that has like that jet.
Yeah.
You can like get comfortable.
Yeah.
No, get there and start doing this, and water starts circling around your privates. It gets you.
It'll get you every time. Yeah, no, we got a new one at the house. I just converted a deep freeze, and it works.
That's awesome.
It gets the water cold.
Yeah, I'm confident I would have electrocuted myself.
Yeah.
I've wanted to do that, but I'm like.
So I did a fail mechanism, and this is if you're gonna do this, so you plug it in, and I strap the key to where it's plugged in, so I have to physically unplug it every time I unlock it. And I got little kids, so I got a 3-year-old, 7-year-old, and a 10-year-old. So I don't want them to get in.
Yeah.
So I lock it every time, so that because I've already seen them poking their head in and open it. I was like, that would very dangerous.
Yep.
So lock it, and then I plug it in. So in order to unlock it, so anyway, fail safe.
Yeah.
You gotta sometimes we're retarded.
Yeah. I just think on the electrical side, I would electrocute myself.
Yeah, which is beautiful. Okay, so I'm gonna read a couple quotes. I don't know how much more time we got. One of the things that I really enjoy prepping for this conversation, because you got quotes out there on the internet. You just Google Tim Kennedy quotes, which is great, and for better or for worse, here it comes.
That just scares me thinking about it.
I know. Here it comes.
Somebody Googled and said that I am married to, or I have kids with a girl in Canada on the swim team. I don't. So don't trust the internet, boys and girls. I also found out that I was part of the specific operation in Afghanistan in a year that I was, the entire year I was in Africa.
Okay.
And I was like,
how did that work?
Yeah, that's cool. And it has my ribbon set. Okay. And it has the ribbon from that campaign. I was like,
interesting.
Well, that's a cool ribbon.
Yeah.
Do I get to Wikipedia says I have it. Can I put that on my uniform now? All right, I'm scared. I'm just stalling because I don't know what these quotes are going to be.
DD214. I mean, they're really, it's really good stuff. It's like one of the things that he said was, I love the idea of what America is. America is a bunch of people that do these incredible, thankless, selfless jobs that nobody really knows about that makes that American dream possible. One of the things that stuck out for me was that thankless, selfless jobs. And I think about it is what happens when no one's watching, right? That makes a man.
Yeah.
What are those things for you, right? When we kind of talked about them, getting in cold, right? But what are those things for you when no one's watching that really help you show up?
I hate phrasing it this way, but how they treat people that work for them. The people that they don't have to be kind to. sure, man, if you're trying to like make it and you're faking it till you make it and you like have this next tier up and you're like sucking and riding the coattail of all these other people and you're being super nice. No, I got dinner tonight. No, bro, you want something from that person.
Yeah, I was that guy. I'll raise my hand.
But like, how often do you like, hey, lunch is on me, team, hey, now you're not going to stay at a Best Western on your wedding night. This is a conversation I had this week. I was like, I love you, man. Zero chance of that.
Yeah.
You're like, not while you're working for me. You're like, fucking figure it out. Do anything else but that.
Yeah.
And tell nobody.
Yeah.
Always doing it for the person and not for you.
Yeah.
So like, that's a big one. I was on a call this morning and I kind of, not that I messed it up, but there's a lot of people on this call and I'm going to judge somebody about what they talk about themselves. Okay. Like, so, hey, I fought for 2 world titles. I went to Ranger School, one of the auto grads, not a big deal. I'm a Green Beret.
Yeah.
Like how fucking gross is that, right? Compared to my 8-year-old is a savage. Dude, if you go on the ice with him and you get near any of the little players on his team, he will take you out. Yeah. He will take the tripping call and he will skate across the back of your neck. Like that is my, when somebody starts talking like that, I'm like, dude, I love this guy. Like, what does he love?
Yeah.
What are the things that he's passionate about? Is it himself? Blah, lame, right? But like, dude, he's proud of his wife. He's proud of his kids. Like, give me that guy.
Yeah.
So on that call, there was like a couple of dudes that were like talking about their backgrounds and then like this other guy was like, dude, I just got back from this hunt. I took my son. I was like, I took my son last year on my first hunt. And it was the most epic thing ever.
I took my son on his first hunt last year.
It was like so freaking cool. And like I cared about nobody else on that call but that one dude.
Yeah.
And
that's dope. Yeah. It's really special to take your son on a hunt. Actually, I took my son last year. We did a rattle hunt. My in-laws have a property here in Texas, Central Texas, and it was early rut, and we just happened to be out there on that weekend. And I was like, Max, because we were in the blind, and like nothing was happening, right? Like at the blind, and I saw buck chase doe, and I'm like, I think we're in the rut already. So sure enough, we go out and we start rattling up some bucks, and it was so cool because it was just like first
so
big
cool.
buck. He's still got the antlers. He puts them on his wall. It's awesome. Yeah, it's really fun.
It's a moment.
Yeah.
Warrior culture.
Yeah.
Now, was it the kill that was that the important part of that? No. It was like your time together. Absolutely. It was like the intentionality of you seeing this opportunity to like pour a moment into this beautiful human that you've sired, right? Like this is literally defining warrior culture.
Absolutely.
So fuck yes.
Yeah. And the big thing too is understanding, and this is, I got, when I posted on Instagram, of course, like I only got like 4,000 followers, right? Like not a lot, right? But even like still underneath there was comments of like, you're a killer and you can't believe you're telling you, like a lot of people were very positive, but like, those that are out there, one of the things that I see as value to this is, it's similar. It's like, have you ever seen a deer starve to death? Or like, because it doesn't have enough food, because the ecology, or like get devoured by a lion or get devoured by a coyote. It's like the process of ecology happened. And that's why we have tags. That's why the Parks and Wildlife, they know the numbers and, we track it. And so like, we're just part of the ecology. Life has to eat life in order for us to survive.
And for them to survive.
Yeah.
Like left to their own devices, they currently would be walking into streets being run over by everybody, and there'd be unhealthy amounts of populations carrying every imaginable disease. So like this is an important part, and people don't understand like the people that truly are conservationists and really, really love the outdoors are people that killing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's so much to be said. I mean, we can wax philosophical about that all the time. Okay. Another quote.
How much time we got? We got plenty of time.
Okay.
If you've really been crawfish season, for example.
Okay.
My favorite time is to live in Texas.
Yeah.
You have 60 days where you get good crawfish. I got it. You got maybe 90 to 110 days of total crawfish season, but 60 to 90 days of peak. Have you ever been to a crawfish farm?
Not a farm. I've been to a boil, but not a farm.
Just think about what it's like. Generational crawfish farmers that imagine what, first of all, the humidity's like. The mosquitoes are like, the water, the snakes, you talk about some hard jobs. Yeah. Like how much money they barely surviving to make it to next year. Yes. And they have to live off of 90 to 120 days of income for the entire year.
Yeah.
Like, it is a hard life. But at that crawfish boil, did you think about that person?
No.
No, right? And like when you sit down and you're going to have like those scallops. Have you ever been on a scallop boat?
No.
Dude, hardest motherfuckers. Like, and they're generational fishermen.
Yes.
And they have these tiny little windows that they're going to be making their money and living in the worst conditions possible. Like barely buying gas, barely fixing boats, you know, like, man, I can't even get the hardest and go down oil. We're driving a car. Like, when was the last time you went to West Texas, you know, outside of Midland, and went to one of the roughnecks that are working in the fields, or the linemen that are checking the power that comes to us? Those are the people that make this country turn. And very rarely do we sit there as we're like swiping or scrolling on the next thing. Do I think about those people that are making my life possible?
I mean, you can go one step further. I mean, the cobalt farms and the mines and lithium mines in Central Africa,
but that's compassion.
That's
grace. Is thinking and appreciating about those people. With grace and compassion. Like, man, those people are rad.
It's rad. I agree.
Way radder than us.
We do our best.
I'm trying.
We have our lane, we have our lane, which is important. Even this conversation, I think, is important, Okay, so which then goes to the next thing, which is right in alignment, which is find something big. This is a quote. Find something bigger than yourself and pour every ounce of who you are into it. One of the things that I think about is a warrior without a mission is a loose cannon, is just kind of willy-nilly going out there. And even if that mission, I mean, oftentimes that mission can be egocentric. It can be, especially as young men. We were on our conquering days, back in the day. What is that mission for you nowadays? You kind of mentioned it earlier, but if you think about it.
So that thing greater than yourself and pouring yourself into it, like that code and that honor and that discipline, fighting for an idea. Like, I still believe in the idea of America. Like, I still believe in this like God family country that's, I did not come from wealth. And I had, living off a single income of a police officer father, as my mom was homeschooling us, because we couldn't afford private schools, but they didn't want to send us to public schools, very wise of them. It was hard. And it is this, but my dad was in love with the same idea that I'm in love with, that you can make it. And he did. He was able to forge an amazing life for us, and then an amazing existence for he and my mom, and then set us up for a better position. And so, like, I still believe in this idea of America. And so that can be it. It can be, as a man of faith. That is an important part of my life where I'm going to pour myself into that. And it doesn't have to be one thing, right? Like, my family is absolutely one of those things. My team, the people that I get to work with, they're definitely part of it. And the mission statement of our companies are absolutely part of it. And, at the core, that idea is the thing that I'm fighting for. It's on the business card. It's in the lens of every single thing that we do. Every single person here knows that, like, if it does not contribute in a meaningful way to our mission, we're not doing it. Oh, it's a huge government contract. It's year on year, and like, nobody else can bid on it. Like, it's yours. I'm like, how does that contribute to our mission? And we're not doing it. Next thing.
I think that's super valuable. And even the virtues of, you can say capitalism, again, pros and cons of that. You could play devil's advocate all day about the idea, but I think about, and one of the things that was on my heart even coming into this conversation, which is, I see a lot of veterans out there that are doing really well, to be honest. Like, they worked hard. Yourself, guys like Jocko, Dakota Meyer, other guys like Andy Frisilla, like guys that are really going after it. What do you think is in them that gets them to that next level, that allows them the opportunity to make it?
There's so many similarities amongst all those guys that you just listed. And, you start throwing the Matt Bests and the Evan Hafers, Jared Taylor, Dan Crenshaw. Oh God, no, sorry guys, don't mention his, but the Luttrells, like, there is a hunger, and there is a determination, and there is a singularity, a single focus to that thing that's greater than themselves. And they believe it. And they all are contributing back to the community that made them who they are in a really meaningful way.
Yeah.
And if you just like take your judgmental eyes off for a second and look at who those people are, not about what they say on CNN or whoever they're in front of, but like, what are they actually doing with their time? Like, they're pretty rad humans. Or sure, get on social media and then judge them. Like that could be an option. Or look at who they are and where they spend their time. And you're like, dude, grace, compassion, like those are great humans.
Yeah, the act of service alone can be one of the most mentally emotional healing things you can create. You know, obviously there's a really good book. I mean, it's a quick side note, the really good book called Tribe by Sebastian Junger. Have you read that?
Yes.
Yeah, it's such a good book. But anyway, it talks about belonging, and you know, he talks about war and all these things. And when you have belonging, obviously you create a sense of tribe. You create that mentally emotional well-being. Inside of that, the individual must have a purpose, a direction, even if it's a family, even if it's something helping something greater than yourself. I think you touched on it earlier, which is when you have that, it puts you into alignment with something more. And I'm sure you have hard days. I know I have hard days, but when you're fighting for something that you know is worthwhile, and you know, it could be anything. For me, it's helping guys get through the mental emotional block that stops them from achieving whatever they want in life. It could be more love, it could be more money, it could be more sex, could be whatever that thing is. But if I can just help one more guy just see the depths of their demons and let's fucking go, let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, that's my,
funny, every one of those guys that you listed have done significant unnecessary acts of supporting and kindness and generosity to me. Like Jocko did not have to have me on his podcast when my book came out. Jocko sold more of my book. He has his own book. He has his own publishing wing of that I'm not in. I'm in a competitor publishing company. Absolutely sold more books than any other, more than Fox, more than Joe Rogan, you know, both amazing groups that I'm so thankful to be part of, but like, he didn't have to do that. But they did for no other reason because they're good people. You know, like Evan and Matt and Jared, like I didn't have to go on Black Rifle. I didn't have to be part of Black Rifle, but they let me be part of it.
That's beautiful.
Dakota, like, that, you know, like, it's one of the raddest humans on the planet who almost got in a fist fight with a congressman this week.
I didn't hear about that.
Oh yeah, man. That guy. I love that guy. But you know, like, his Medal of Honor is sitting in my drawer that he gave my son.
Oh wow. You
know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Like,
I'm gonna take a step back on that one. That's wild.
I mean, I can keep going down the list. Like that's who those people are. It's wild. It's
incredible. Yeah, and like that's the thing. Like we're all in the same fight, which is like helping individuals lead a better life than we had. And that's why I love this country. I really do. It's why I signed up, you know, because I really value freedom. I really value, and not just freedom from like the markets, right? Capitalism as an idea, but that internal sovereignty. There's like this essence, you know, it's like a feeling, which I had that on the list, you know, like if you had to tap into freedom, what does freedom mean for you?
I have asked this question and I've defined this question 1,000 different times in 1,000 different ways to myself. The sovereignty is real sovereignty is my ability to have nothing external influence me, my decisions, my life, or my family. So I can live my life without any other influence. So like if you tell me to do a thing, I don't need to do it. I'm financially free. I'm spiritually free. I am medically free. You come to me and be like, hey man, you need to take this thing. I could be like, no. You have no control over me. You know, hey, I want you to believe in this thing. No. You know, like first, the Constitution right there says that you can't tell me what to believe in. You know, second is like also no, because like maybe I'll just kill you because that's what my founding fathers did. And when you got too much into my business. So like it is absolute freedom is sovereignty, and sovereignty is a hard thing to get to, and that's what I'm working towards is sovereignty.
That's beautiful. Do you feel like you've achieved that?
In some things.
Okay.
I don't think if you're like, yeah, I got it, I'm free. You're not, like, you're never going to be that way. So like, I think it's a constant effort to be sovereign and free.
Yeah. It's like a hygiene thing. It's like a spiritual hygiene, right? Like I feel like, so I've done a lot of deep work, mental, emotional stuff. I've worked in psilocybin and other entheogens to like really clear my traumas and vessel. And I feel like I got to that level of sovereignty. And for me, similarly, which is, it's not necessarily that I am so free that nothing can faze me, because things do faze me, but it's the ability to see it and just acknowledge it and process it and just let it go. And that for me was sovereignty. And it was like it's like when you've lifted weights enough, you know, like, oh yeah, I can just get back into that, you know, that for me. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Man, we touched on everything in here. All right, I got a good question. Okay. How does a man, we talk about being your best, showing up in the world. You show up, you do the work, cold plunging, working out, jiu-jitsu, doing all those things. How does a man show up as his best self? It's a bit of an open-ended question.
Yeah.
But if he's struggling, right? Think about that guy that's like, you know, like, what do I need to do? Or he just feels trapped in his own life. You know, how does he show up even when he doesn't want to? How does he show up when he's tired, he's sick? What would you say to that guy?
What is the closest first achievable thing? And do that thing.
Yeah.
All too often we look at this, especially when you're depressed and you're struggling, like, this is where I want to be, but this is where I am.
Yeah.
The delta between those two things is insurmountable.
It's huge.
And like, but you don't have to get here.
Yeah.
What you have to do is the next closest thing here.
Yes.
Jordan Peterson says, lower the bar. Like the expectation is like, I'm going to make this big leap of improvement.
Yeah.
No, there is a thing that you can do right now that will improve your life.
Yes.
Like, okay, you're not going to get out and go and do this like Jason Khalipa epic workout. No, but can you go walk?
Yeah.
Can you just go outside? Can you just not eat a bag of Doritos? Can you just not drink one shot today? You know, like whatever that one thing is, do that thing.
Yes.
And so your best self is, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, this is how you spend your time. And I am always struggling through three things that I want to spend intentional time on. That is my family, my ability to provide for my family, and the improvement of me and my as a man, as a self, like as an intellectual, as what I aspire to be, a philosopher, like you know, as a philanthropic heart, like a physical being, like a crazy, like what is the freakiest version of myself, like the strongest, the fastest, like that is me. The time I spend with my family and my ability to provide for my family. Those are the three things that I focus on. How do I spend my time on? And sure, it'd be great to like be a billionaire. Like the things that I could do having wealth like that and give back to the communities that I care about and be able to give to my family and be able to ensure that my wife is taken care of for forever and that my kids would never have that money, but they would know what to do to be successful in their own lives through hardship and struggle, and they'd have plenty of it. But with those three things, I still have to look at what is the lowest, easiest, achievable thing for me to do.
That's that one thing.
That one thing. You know, like I'll pull my calendar up today and be like, oh my God. But even with it, like you heard Rebecca, she's walking to go buy balloons for my friend who's having his birthday tonight. Like I have to do that thing.
Yes.
And that is a thing. I'm going to physically be there.
Yeah.
And I'm going to bring him balloons.
Yeah.
That is like the easiest, lowest thing for me to do, is to be a good friend.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I'm not going to miss my son's hockey practice tonight, you know? And I'm absolutely going to go and make a few more adjustments to my leotard unicorn suit for the birthday.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see that. I think that's going to be beautiful, like, amazing. One of the things that you touched on, and again, we kind of going back to purpose. Purpose at the end of the day is having direction. In fact, Huberman talks about this. It's something that I know just from my own background in science, which is when you have a line in the sand and you know exactly what that line is, you can actually pursue it. And it's actually in the pursuit that you stimulate serotonin, dopamine, all norepinephrine, epinephrine, all the feel-good chemicals that actually give you the sense of, yeah, I did that. And you actually can pat yourself on the back and then go on to the next thing and the next thing. Where I was at my most depressed moment, I had billionaire aspirations. I'm going to be a multimillionaire. I'm going to do all these things. And you did struggling, right? You know, just financially. And then all of a sudden the wheels fell off and I didn't know which way was up. And I I felt so much shame, so much guilt, and I didn't know how to put myself together at the time. And again, that's, part of the ego experience, and then you put yourself back together, you humble yourself, life will humble you no matter what. And then you show back up, show back up. With that said, what has been one of the more humbling moments of your life, and how have you learned?
Oh, man.
Yeah, I threw that out there.
Yeah. That book, Scars and Stripes, like that whole entire book is literally just like these gigantic, monumental failures. That failures in business, failures fighting for world titles in front of millions of people, like Luke Rockhold, and his name is called, and I'm sitting there with my hands down as he is now the middleweight champion. Jacare Souza, as I'm standing there in the center of the cage as he becomes the middleweight champion. Thinking back to my boss being like, hey, we lost a helicopter, so we have to flex our load plans. You're like the most junior guy on the whole entire team, so you're going to go to QRF. Can you prep everything?
Yeah, quick reaction force. For people who don't
so
know.
for me, it's like, okay, cool. I'm gonna do headspace and timing on the machine gun. I'm gonna make sure all the fills on the radios are good. I'm gonna make sure our speed bags, like extra ammo, extra grenades. I'm gonna make sure like all the things that I should be doing, right? Instead, I was like, no. I'm like the fastest and the strongest and the best shooter on the team. You should reconsider that, Master Sergeant, and I should be on the helicopter as part of the helicopter assault force to go and do, like to land on the X and to go kick. You should have me on there. Yeah. So like, first of all, you're wrong. Second is, I'll forgive you for being wrong as long as you put me on the helicopter. Like, what an embarrassing piece of shit, right? Like, I could just keep going and going and going of like, I can't give you one because there's just so many.
Yeah. Pick up the book.
Yeah. Or don't.
Yeah, or don't.
Yeah, because it's a big list of failures.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other parting words that you want to share?
Man, lower your bar.
Yeah.
Find the closest thing that you can do right now to improve your life. Business, family, relationship. When I say family, like as a parent, like when was the last time that you bought flowers for your spouse? When was the last time that you wrote her a note? When was the last time that you called the babysitter and you made a reservation?
Yeah.
When was the last time that you like lit candles and put in the effort to be romantic? Not like, actually with intention.
No, not like an orangutan, just pinch your nipple.
It is lower the bar.
Yeah.
And do the closest, easiest thing to improve your life or somebody else's life.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. Actually, in fact, we did that. My wife and I went to go see Rogan on Tuesday. It was hilarious. Have you seen that show yet?
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. So lower the bar. I think that's absolute sage advice. I think for the guys listening, they can absolutely take something from that. And anything, any offerings you're putting out there nowadays? Anything you want to share?
Man, I'm glad you, not that it was a requirement for you to come. I did kind of strong arm you. I was like, yeah, sure. We could do the podcast. You have to be here at 12 to do the podcast after you get on the mats.
Right. I've been dealing with some back pain and I was like, oh God, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with it right now.
Yeah. No, thank you,
man. No, it's been amazing, and I really appreciate you and all the kindness, man. I mean, like I said, I just was like, Tim, I know you, and we were like long lost buddies. You're like, cool, man. I'll just say hey, and I was like, let's do this. Let's make this happen.
Those dudes I was with are savages.
I could very much tell when you see cauliflower on ear, you're like, okay,
and they kind of like they walk like this.
Yeah, they're kind of the standing ape theory. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I know that. And I can always like trust that though. I feel that energy too. I come from that world. So
yeah, they're the best.
Yeah, man, it's amazing. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Being on.
You're awesome. Thanks for coming.
Appreciate you. Yeah.